like to call to order the City Council meeting March 6, 2025, 501 Main Street, 5:30 p.m. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call?
Crenshaw.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Mullen. Here. Cackley.
Here.
Dade. Here. Andrews.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Bryant. Greenwald.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Item number 4, Mayor's Correspondence. Friday, March 7th, 2025, we have a reception at the Keokuk Public Library from 5 to 7 for the Eyes of March artists in the Round Room. And then the All-City Band Festival at 7 p.m. at Wright Fieldhouse, and that's ages all the grade school through the high school. Saturday, March 8th, 2025, there's a sign language classes at the Keokuk Public Library. Feather party at the Montrose Sandbar to benefit the Montrose Fire Department at 1 o'clock p.m. Labor Chapter Soup Supper fundraiser from noon to 6 p.m. at the Keokuk Labor Temple, and a St. Patrick's Day celebration at the Columbian Room of the Knights of Columbus Hall, corned beef and cabbage dinner and music by McNamara's Band, and the doors open at 5 p.m. Sunday, March 9th, 2025, McNamara's Band will have its annual concert at the First Christian Church at 2 o'clock p.m. and Feather Follies at the Keokuk Senior High School. Little Feathers will be presenting, and it is at 5 o'clock p.m. Then, if you have seen in the newspaper and heard, you can join the Main Street Keokuk Incorporated in their 2nd annual Hometown Heroes banners on Main Street. If you need any information, please call 319-524-5056. And as always, eat, drink, and shop local, and kindness matters. Item number 5, citizens' request. If we have anybody that would like to come to the podium and give us any ideas or talk to us about something that is on your mind, please come. Please try not to talk more than about 3 minutes. If there's more than one person, try not to repeat yourselves. And if there is anybody here, state your name, your address. So if there's anybody here, come forward.
I'm Barbara Eaton, 1191 Johnson Street Road, and I'm here because I'm concerned about the lack of sidewalks on Johnson Street Road with the 3 apartments that we have, and now a 4th is coming. Summer's coming. We have a lot of people that walk to go to Walmart and Hy-Vee, and they have nowhere to walk. They're on the street, pushing strollers, riding bikes, kids. It's really dangerous. So I was hoping we could do sidewalks or a pedestrian lane or something that would keep everyone safe.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Barb. As well as you're speaking from dusk to dawn in those areas, actually it's a really huge blind sight. And there are a lot of kids and people traveling on those roads. I know that, in the last several years, we've had a lot of people stopping about sidewalks and the dangers, out by the pool and things like that for our kids. And definitely adding another apartment building in is not going to help the matter as far as the walking. I did speak with Brian a little bit about this particular issue. Brian, you have anything to say on this?
Yeah, so the city had done a study and hired an engineering firm, I want to say it was when Mark Bousselet was still here in my position, so that would have been 5-ish some years ago. They did hire an engineering firm, and plans were completed for a sidewalk for the portion between like Kentucky Fried Chicken and Walmart. Mm-hmm. That would have been phase 1 of that project. Phase 2 of that project included Johnson Street Road and then the connector for that. Phase 1 was designed, and then the city had asked the engineers to shelf that project. They weren't in the financial situation at that time to do it. The best we can do right now is I can have the engineers kind of dust that off and give us an up-to-date cost estimate on what that would look like for us to complete. And then we would have to revisit the study along Johnson Street Road, obviously for an up-to-date cost estimate. But I do agree that is a very heavily pedestrian traffic area.
And cars.
Yeah.
It's heavily traveled.
So that would be, I can get some pricing on that, and then I can run that by the council or by the Public Works Committee and kind of see where we're at infrastructure-wise, if we want to work that in with some of our infrastructure bonding that we're looking at doing.
I think it would be a good cause. I spoke to several of the council members here, Dorothy's one, and they kept saying, you need to come to the meeting, and I'm not very good at this, so I kind of kept putting it off, and I thought, with the new building and with summer coming, I just couldn't not bring this to everyone's attention, so that's what I'm
You
doing.
can see when you do drive out along Main Street that there is a walk path that's worn in the grass from, at least from Henniges all the way out to Walmart, so.
And a lot of people don't have cars
Right.
that live out there, so they're walking and pushing strollers, and yeah, it's dangerous, so.
And the other thing we can do, I can check with regional planning on if there are any grant opportunities for, they used to call it, it's like, they used to have a Safe Routes to School program. I'm not sure that we could get this to qualify for that, but I can see if there's any dollars out there for sidewalk
So we can't do a
projects.
pedestrian lane, that wouldn't be?
I would
mean,
recommend a sidewalk that
Well-
gives you a buffer of separation between
Right.
the pedestrians walking and then actually instead of walking in the street.
I agree.
There's a lack of lighting out there at night just because there's no intersections.
Right.
So I wouldn't recommend doing a walking lane within the street, but rather a sidewalk.
I would too. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for following through to come.
Anybody else? Item number 6, consent agenda. Minutes of the regular city council meeting of February 20th, 2025. Resolution approving a liquor license for Hampton Inn, Keokuk, 2301 Main Street, Class B retail alcohol license, effective immediately. Resolution approving a liquor license for BPO Elks, Keokuk Lodge number 106, 2200 Lincoln Avenue, Class F retail alcohol license, effective April 1st, 2025. Resolution approving a liquor license for Site Food Mart, 1301 Main Street, Class E retail alcohol license, effective March 21st, 2025. Resolution approving a liquor license for Dunnigan Shamrocks on the Mississippi LLC, 17 North 4th Street, Class C retail alcohol license, effective immediately. Resolution approving a liquor license for L Trains, 1108 Main Street, Class C retail alcohol license, effective March 15th, 2025. Approving an amendment to the Dollar General liquor license ownership update. Resolution approving an urban revitalization tax exemption for Stephen Mason, 324 Main Hawkeye Street, detached garage. Appointment of Richard Meredith to the Veterans Memorial Commission, term to expire June 1st, 2029, and motion to pay bills and transfers listed in the registers number 5459 through 5460. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, now is the time and the place for a public hearing on the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of not to exceed $7 million general obligation capital loan notes of the City of Keokuk, State of Iowa, for essential corporate purposes. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on February 28, 2025. I am opening the public hearing at 5:36. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, Kathy, I'm, for one, am kind of on the fence with this, and I was just wondering if we could take some time to kind of outline the ideas behind this and kind of go over the pros and cons and possibly consider some of the long-term consequences of going through with this.
Sure. So we met with the Finance Committee. We all have the same concerns with the debt service levy. So in that meeting, we are trying to, if you'll notice that bond says not to exceed 7, we can go in lower than that, and that is our goal. And we're going to try to get that down to 6. And if we can get that under that, that's what we're shooting for. We're going to try to minimize that as much as we possibly can. Some of these things are absolutely required. We need some money for our first flush study. The council also already approved the purchase of a fire truck, and that will be included in there, and I think that's about 1.7 roughly. I'm just giving you rough numbers.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I think the first flush number is about 500,000. And so we were looking to maybe decrease the amount that we're looking on the street side of that improvement. And then on the capital purchases, I've already met with all the department heads to minimize those capital purchases, prioritize them, make sure that we're getting what we absolutely have to have. And that's going to take a little more work yet. And then we also received some direction from the council members at that meeting on what it would look like if we did knock that number down. So we're working on that comparison number right now also.
So will you be getting the $7 million all up front, or it will be gotten on an as-needed basis?
Yeah, generally speaking, my experience with those general obligation bonds is the money comes in and then we spend it as needed.
And so what this is about tonight is it's not us setting the exact amount of the bond that we would claim. It's us saying that we would authorize up to. So, and that was with the rough estimates that we were talking about a month ago. Well, now that we've looked more into things, like Dave is saying, we're getting a little more scrutinous on it, and we're trying to see how we can pull that number down as low as possible. But with the timing of everything, that's why it's worded in the way of not to exceed the $7 million.
When is the soonest the public can expect to feel the sting from the property taxes?
It would be on the next year's levy,
That's
next fiscal year.
fiscal year 26, 27?
Yes. Well, fiscal year 26.
Okay, yeah. I have a hard time justifying it just because I know how thin people are drawn already, especially representing what is presumably the lowest income ward in town. So it is very hard to cast a vote, and I haven't spoken with as many folks from my ward as I would like to. So far, folks they want new streets, but they don't want the taxes. And so it's really hard to justify,
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of on the fence with this one, and it's going to be hard to cast a vote. So many undecideds, or unknowns.
So Dave, what does our timeline look like to having those numbers so we can see what if we do a 3 million bond versus a 5 versus 7, and what's the process for us actually putting that number set in stone for what we're going to take?
Sure. So the levy had to be posted on the state's website yesterday, and then it's locked in, I think, is it locked in until the 20th, Celeste? Does that sound right? So we will we have to make a couple of calls tomorrow to try to get some clarification on those numbers and how it affects the percentages. Once we have those answers, I can share them with everybody. And then that number stays locked until the 20th. And then we have to get back with the Department of Management to change that number if the council desires to do that.
Well, thank you for the info. Thank you for answering my questions. Sure. Good to see you back.
Good to be back.
Welcome back. Question on how close are we to our bonding limits?
If we go at 6, we should be roughly, and this is a rough number, Dorothy, it should be roughly back to 28, which would leave us about 5 million.
Away from our limit.
Yes.
And did anyone else observe the memo from the school district?
Yes.
Okay. That puts us in a dire strait. Double whammy for the taxpayers.
Any more discussion? City Clerk, were there any written comments or objections that you received? There being no further comments or objections on this matter, I will close the public hearing at 5:45 p.m. Item number 7B, consider resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for issuance not to exceed $7 million general obligation capital loan notes. Do I have a motion to approve? Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Item number 7C, consider resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2025, and levying a tax for the payment thereof. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Item number 8, motion to approve tipping fees for the Keokuk Cares.
So moved.
Keokuk Cares is a new community group created by Calvin Stevens of Keokuk. Calvin Stevens met with Casey Barnes and Pam Broom Hall along with City Council members Crenshaw and Andrews to discuss his idea of helping community members that were unable to remove nuisance-related items from their properties. Mowing and shoveling snow from walks and other help was also mentioned in Mr. Stevens' plan. A request for tipping fees to be waived during the fall/spring citywide cleanups and other city-approved special projects, removing overgrowth from alleys and South 7th Street retaining wall area. The fees being waived are actually budgeted funds in the housing department budget. That the only difference is that the individuals that are being assisted through the Keokuk Cares would not receive the cleanup vouchers personally. Keokuk Cares would pick up and transfer the waste to Great River Regional Waste Authority and charge the fee to the city. This would be approved by the staff prior to transport. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, council liaison reports. Item number 10, staff reports. Item number 11. Casey?
Point where Calvin may have wanted to speak, maybe. If you want, yeah.
You already said yes, so I really.
Okay.
If you want to know more about it, I can share some.
Okay.
If you feel it's important that we know, come on up.
I wrote my notes down because I preach, and so I don't want to go too long. My name's Calvin Stevens, 3327 Middle Road. First, I want to thank Pam, Casey, Steve, Carissa, and is that everybody that met at that one meeting? To just spitball with us and come up with ideas to help the community. Our main focus is to help the senior citizens physically unable and going through financial hardships. So like widows, single parents, pretty much anybody that doesn't even have the finances to pick up their yards, because a lot of times there's like a stigma about that of asking for help. So we want to approach these people. So if there's ever a fine that needs to come up, we hope to intervene before that and go pick up, clean up, help with minor repairs of the homes and stuff like that. We're just getting started as well, but our main focus is to there's no charge. Like, we want to touch as little money as possible and never, ever, ever ask anybody, like a volunteer. We'll never ask for money. We'll never ask money for the people we help. And the reason behind this is because so many people struggle with home maintenance and cleanup and all that stuff. So the thing about this is that there's so many other groups in town that are doing these things. So one of the things we want to help with is just to connect those groups together, like to get a volunteer force behind them. So if there's any other initiatives going on, we can jump on board. So our main focus is the citywide cleanup that's coming up. So we'll pick the weekend of that. and get as many people hands on deck to support that, and to go in preemptively finding people that need help. And so we can just go in and have like a focused attack, if you would. Well, you already approved, so I don't need to talk about that part. Thank you for approving. We do plan to eventually become an established 501c3 because, again, for the transparency of it, I don't want to touch any money. People are trying to offer donations right now, and I want to personally avoid that until there's like a paper trail behind that. And I'm in talks with Sean Skinner and his group to see if we could have them accept the donations on our behalf, just because they have a real accountant behind them. Mary Facker is going to be our treasurer on the board, and then Ashley Custer will be our secretary once we get this established. So again, no charge, no judgment, just neighbors helping neighbors. And thank you again for waiving the fee for that. And Casey has a plan for us. I don't know if you want to share more about that, of where it'll be well documented. And if you have any questions, I'm not hard to find. And I'm harder to get away once you start talking to me. But if you want to volunteer, you can go to our Facebook page, Keokuk Cares, or keokukcares@gmail.com for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11, new business. Item number 12, do I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Do we need to take 3 minutes? Do you want to go on in? Anybody need a break? You want to go? Keep going. Okay, we'll go right on into it. We're going to open up the council workshop March 6, 2025, immediately following the regular meeting. We only have one item on the agenda, and that gentleman is here, and I'll let him introduce himself and just come up and give us your spiel.
How y'all doing?
Great.
Good. I'll make it short. I think everybody wants to go home. So I'm Randy Schoen. I'm a development analyst, basically for new markets for Imon Communications. Been with the company for 18 years, basically since it started. We've been expanding across Iowa, so southeast Iowa, it makes sense for us to go to next. So we're going to be doing West Burlington, Fort Madison, Keokuk, and Mount Pleasant. We want to start construction this year. We have done all our design. We've worked with Brian. We've worked with Celeste. She was the first person I met. So we wanted you to know that we want to start roughly May or June of this year. And I want to know if you have any questions, like who we are, how's it going to go, or plans or anything like that. I'm here to answer any questions.
Everything.
Everything? Okay.
Randy, could you tell us, like when we met the last time, you told us some of the communities that you were already in. I think that would be helpful for people to know so they could kind of get a reference.
Great. Imon Communications started in 2007, basically Cedar Rapids Metro. We grew into Marion, surrounding that, Hiawatha. Then we went to Iowa City, Coralville, built those out, Dubuque. We've just finished Comanche. We're going into Clinton, and we are working currently in Marshalltown. We just started boring in Burlington Monday. So, and then we had the freak snowstorm. So, but
what is the service you provide? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry. I should have said that from the beginning. It's basically fiber to the home. We're a competitor against the media comms of the world, basically. We offer phone, internet, and video. We're looking forward to coming to Keokuk. Keokuk itself will be a completely underground network. We won't be using the poles, minus a lot of the conversion that's been going on with Alliant going to underground. They're still running their services to their homes overhead. So in order to not cross alleys with buried lines and stuff, that we would actually run up that pole and follow the service in for one side of the alley. So several bore rigs will be here. We would need to work with Brian and other people because you only have so many locators, and we can't just come in and rush over. So we have to be mindful of the city and the staff that they have, the facilities they have and stuff. So we're very order in how we do this. We usually build from the hub out. The hub location is actually Joyce Park. We're working jointly with, I don't know if you guys know ICU or Danville Telephone. They basically have a hub site in Danville. So in order to save on putting another hub site in, we're actually going to lease space in their site. So we're here to stay. So we will end up hiring staff to maintain, do installs and such in the area. So we're going to be hiring people. We're going to need them for Fort Madison as well and Burlington. We have a redundant ring that basically goes back and touches 3 databases or data centers. So we build this rock solid. So and it's fiber all the way to the house. It's not fiber to the curb.
So are you only going to install it to those people who say they're going to subscribe, or do
Yes.
all the neighborhoods get access?
There's a port, what we call a port, designed for every address. And every business, every city building, school, or college, or anything. So once that they show interest and they want to hook up, a line is run from that port into the house. It's just basically the same as MediaCom running a coax drop.
So
we run a fiber drop.
It is accessible for both residential and commercial?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
How are your rates compared to MediaCom, just out of curiosity?
I'm sorry, what's that?
How are your rates compared?
We're very comparable. So every market's different. I mean, we've had it before where we've come in and the competitors, not just MediaCom, but they will lower their rates, so we kind of like it. We actually drive the cost down a little bit. But the fiber to the home is a lot more stable than the coax network. So, but yeah.
Average figure for just regular internet service?
I don't know. I literally stay away from those. I'm not sales. I'm a construction guy. And I know how to build it. I know how to build it right. And but every time I hear it, it's like, oh, I saved money hooking up to you guys, and it doesn't go out. And we have techs that do 24-hour response, because some of the communities I've gone into, Comanche, for example, they said it would be 10 to 14 days before they would come out, and they had no internet, and the guy worked from home. So we don't do that. We have lifelines. I mean, there's certain residents that'll have lifelines. You can't leave them off hook. So we respond quickly.
And what sort of wireless system would somebody have to have inside their house?
We actually do have wireless, my brain is not working, routers. So yeah, we can hook into one that you have, or we can provide you one.
You mentioned the ports, about how far apart. And the reason I ask that is if you had an internet issue or a cable issue,
sure,
and you have to shut one down, how big of area are you talking?
The easy way to look at this is every home has a designated fiber. And that's what we call a port. And that port goes back to a junction box. And that junction box serves on an average of 400 addresses. Okay? And that's where the splitter system is. That box sits on a redundant ring back to the hub. So we built a lot of redundancy into it, out to at least to the boxes. It's linear from the boxes to the homes, but everybody has their own dedicated fiber. I call it a fiber for life. It's basically, it's locked to your address and it never changes.
Okay.
So
like if the guy next door or somebody cut a line, it wouldn't necessarily affect neighbors on either side of him unless they got into his line.
And if they got into more of the distribution line, that could be running out in front of the property, and I don't know, we've had it before where somebody decided, well, I'm going to plant a tree, and they don't call locates, and it's,
right.
So, and they're free to call. So we just try to tell everybody, call.
Well,
get
and
located.
you kind of stated it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Your fiber optic, so like my house and there's 12 other houses on the block.
Right.
My fiber optic line would run clear back to actually the hub versus having a main line come in and then everybody branches off that main line.
Right.
The actual fiber, and that's the real difference between the fiber optic and the old.
It's
correct.
It's still a shared network because you do an optical split. So at the cabinets, you put one main fiber hub fiber to 32 homes, but it's 10 gig PON. So, it shares out nicely. And it's not like coax where, 300 meg shared across.
And everybody hooks up in the same coax.
Yeah. So it draws, it bogs down. You'll see it like with Christmas Day. Kids get all new stuff, and it starts to bog. Or after school, it starts to bog. Fiber to the home doesn't do that.
So you're looking at using the hub you set out at Joyce Park as your entry point into town, which is already connected to a redundant backbone to get to southeast Iowa.
Correct.
So with just having to hook up there, what's the timeline that you envision to when residents can start to inquire about services or to, start getting quotes and that
So that's
type of
where we're
thing?
going to work closely with Brian and other people on the staff and stuff. There's two gentlemen that run the construction group. I used to be in that group. They will be coming and talking to Brian and others, anybody that's on the staff. We will actually tell you how we usually build from the hub to the cabinet and the cabinet to the house. So we will have an order of how those go in, so that way the city can stay ahead of us on infrastructure. We have dedicated locators that'll be coming in and locating all other third-party utilities. So it's mind-boggling how much you have to do, but over the last couple of years, we've actually proven that it works. And, you just got to talk to everybody. You can't just go do it. Mm-hmm. So we will issue street sheets out to the city staff, anybody that wants them, and it will say where we're working and what we're doing. It could be anything from this is a bore crew that's putting in conduit, and this crew over here is actually pulling fiber. This crew over here is actually splicing the fiber. And then every day you will receive a street sheet to where you will know what's going on. And then as cabinets, because we can release as we go. So we get the first cabinet done, we can release that, and it won't impact any other cabinet down the line. So as those are released, flyers will go out to the residents, the businesses and stuff. And we also do pre-sales. We get people calling in all the time. It's like, okay, just put me on the list. So,
So just rough estimate, because I know like over in Hancock County, MTC's been laying fiber, and they've had residents on wait lists for 2-3 years waiting for them to get close enough to their neighborhood with their infrastructure to start hooking them up. So are we looking at something a few years, or we're talking a few months?
No, we want to start Keokuk this year and finish it this year.
Okay.
So it's a goal, but we again, going back to what I was saying before, we cannot outpace the city and their facilities and their locating. So we got to find that happy medium to where we're just moving along. If it doesn't finish this year, it'll be finished next year. We don't want to prolong it. We are a self-funded company, so we don't rely on grants or anything like that. So when we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What depth are your fibers laid?
What's that?
What depth?
Oh, so all city codes are different, but most of them follow in right of way. It's 36 to 42 inches. Drops up to the houses are 12 to 18. They're not in a conduit or anything. They're a direct drop. What's really nice about this is we use a multi-service terminal. Short term is MST, and it's all plug and play. So if somebody does plant their tree and cuts their drop and they need to get it hooked back up, the tech can come out and basically plug it into the can, plug it into the house, and you're back up. They don't have to sit there and splice it together. So we've made it very friendly for a lot of people.
Okay, I know I'm oftentimes a little leery of a new product when
Yep.
it comes
Should
out
be.
before the bugs get worked out of the system. So if a person doesn't sign up, pre-sign, or do
Sure.
the initial installation, is there the opportunity at a subsequent date to do that?
Yes. Like I was saying, every house will have a port. So if you decide you don't want to sign up for 6 years, that port's still dedicated to your house. We build
Oh, I wouldn't
everything.
wait that long.
No, but it's like I tell everybody, we design out 100%, and that's just how it works. And we don't go in and just build. There's 100 homes, but we only put enough people in to feed 40, and then we'll figure out. It's like, well, if we go over that, we'll come back and do something. No, it's just easier just to build it 100%, have a dedicated port for everybody. And then it's faster to install. There's no wait times. Right now, we're working on same day installs because in some of our communities.
Okay.
So.
I have friends that live in Illinois, and the system that Mike was referencing a while ago, I've heard lots of complaints from the residents about the condition of their yards left after the installation or during the process. What guarantees do we have that things are?
So we've been doing this, like I said, since 2011, the fiber of the home, but we were building a coax network, but prior to that, I'm so glad we went to fiber. It's so much easier. So we have our general contractor will have their crews. They're responsible for the restoration, any concrete replacement, anything like that. That'll all get taken care of. The general contractor has their inspectors that actually inspect everything, and before they turn it over to us, we have our internal inspectors who actually do all verification and walkout. So they walk every line and they look for bare spots, sinkholes, cores not filled, stuff like that. So when we sign that cabinet off and we send it to our operations department, it needs to be 100% because they're our customer. Internally, our operations is our customer, and we never want to hand over a bad product. So it's 100% fiber verified and totally walked and restoration completed. Now, can things happen over time to where a sinkhole could start or something like that next to a handhole? Yes. Just a call. We'll take care of it. So we don't ask questions.
Is anybody recording this?
Yes, we are.
Good. No, I stand behind what we do. It's like I said, I was in construction until May of 23. So I had 36 years in construction. So I dug holes and I climbed poles. And I've spliced fiber and I've built a lot of neighborhoods and stuff, and you will get people who complain. But the best thing you could do is talk to them. Don't ignore them. Just go there. Fall on your sword if you have to, but you just get it fixed. Because one person will talk to another, and the next thing you know, nobody's going to hook up.
I need to stop pretty quick because everybody likes to go home in a good time. But
and I can talk, so I'm sorry.
I have a concern about the consistency of the fees. I know, and you've already said that sales isn't a part of your thing, but
right.
Are our fees in this town going to be the same as, let's say, Cedar Rapids?
Could be less. I can't speak to that, but market rates change. So, but yeah, Cedar Rapids to Keokuk.
I've had friends that have MediaCom here and relatives of those friends that have MediaCom, let's say in Ankeny, and for the same service, we have to pay twice as much as what they're paying up there.
Here?
Yes.
That's odd.
There is no consistency whatsoever in the MediaCom, and I'm looking, it was music to my ears to say that you had an influence on their prices.
We follow the rates around and stuff. We want to say we have a very stable product, And if we offer it a very comparative against a product that, you got to think about it. The coax network lifespan is like 20 years. That coax network's been up there probably 35, 40, give or take. I mean, like Cedar Rapids, it was built in 1978. So it needs a lot more attention than a fiber network. There's really no end of life for a fiber network. It's only the gear on either end. So outages will be less. And our operations group is actually ecstatic that we're building fiber to the home because it's one of the lowest maintenance ones we've got to do.
Okay.
So
I'm done. Thank
hey,
you.
it's
Thank
good
you.
to see you all. Sorry, I'm shaking. But
And I want to thank you guys for investing in Keokuk down here because, yes, we have fiber, but you got to be a business where they already have the line close enough to even be able to sign up for it. So to hear that you're going to make every address have it at least as an option.
Well, see, that was
that's
one
really
of
good to hear.
the reasons that brought us here. It was basically nobody was investing into the markets of like Keokuk, Fort Madison, and Burlington, at least into the residential. They were going for the business and not necessarily the residential. And a lot of it, I think, was driven. They were getting rural funds for rural build out, but the city was too big and considered high speed. So this is what we do. So we wanted to come down here. It fits well for us and stuff. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Looks like we can go home. Meeting's adjourned.